Hello ladies and gentlemen, Tevaron here, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena gameplay. Today we're going to be taking a look at Turbo Fog, a deck that had its breakout debut at Pro Tour 25 last weekend. This is a control deck of a slightly different stripe than normal, that aims to stall the game until it can reach a critical mass of mana, and card draw and then take infinite turns. The deck tends to be great versus aggro and mid-range, and okay versus traditional control, though that does tend to be a bit harder for it. There were several slightly different lists at the Pro Tour, but the one that we're going to be running today is David Williams' list. It's the configuration that I've personally liked the most during testing. So, starting out, we first need to define what we mean by fog. This is a term used to describe a spell or effect that prevents combat damage, and is named after the very first card to ever have this effect. We are running 8 such cards in the deck: Haze of Pollen and Root Snare. Both buy us an extra turn, and Haze of Pollen has the added upside of cycling, which is very important in some slower matchups, especially after sideboarding when we want to leave some number of fogs in, but would like to be able to pitch them for something else if necessary. The second part of the whole plan are our Time Walk effects, again named after the first card to allow players to take an extra turn, Karn's Temporal Sundering, and the most important card in the deck, Nexus of Fate. Nexus is what allows us to generate infinite turns. As an instant for 5 and 2 blue, it says, take an extra turn after this one. If Nexus of Fate would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Nexus of Fate and shuffle it into its owner's library. So short of exiling it, there is no way to stop this card from recurring again and again. Whether you counterspell it, mill it, or just let it resolve, it goes back into the deck. And with it being instant speed and allowing us to cast it on our opponent's turn, forcing counterspell decks to spend their mana and leave themselves vulnerable during our turn, needless to say, it's a very powerful card. Alright, so we stall and then take infinite turns, but how do we actually win? Well, honestly, we usually win by the opponent just conceding the game once they realize that they will never get to take another turn again. But if they aren't kind enough to do that, we win via Teferi Emblem or Karn Constructs. Both of these cards allow us to draw through our deck and dig for more Time Walk effects. Then once the lock is established, we can just ultimate Teferi and then proceed to exile all of our opponent's permanents. Once that is done, we either generate a ton of constructs and attack them to death, or if that isn't an option for some reason, say they've dealt with both of our Karns, then we can stop taking turns and deck the opponent with the Teferi Emblem, keeping them from ever establishing a board presence. Teferi's -3 ability, targeting itself, allows us to recycle him forever and thus never deck ourselves. The rest of the deck is mana ramp and card draw. 4 Gift of Paradise help us to reach 7 mana quickly, and is a really broken combination with Teferi's untap ability, allowing us to access even more mana each turn, and allowing plays like floating mana in response to the untap trigger, letting the trigger resolve to untap them, and then casting an instant we wouldn't otherwise be able to cast, generally Nexus of Fate, or giving us extra Azcanta activations when we're chaining extra turns. Speaking of which, we are running 2 of those, as well as a copy of the Mirari Conjecture. When you have a ton of mana and are drawing 3, 4, or even 5 cards a turn, it's pretty easy to find the time walks that you need to keep it going. The Mirari Conjecture is a card I was uncertain about at first, as previously when trying the card I hadn't been having very good results with it. In this deck, however, it's very good. Generally, you will cast it to buy back a fog or an instant card draw effect, then a sorcery speed card draw effect, and then when the 3rd chapter goes off, you get to draw a ton of extra cards thanks to the spells being copied. Our card draw suite is Chart a Course, Secrets of the Golden City, and Glimmer of Genius, giving us draw effects across a variety of costs and various speeds to allow us to recur them with the Mirari Conjecture. Also, Secrets of the Golden City, having the City's Blessing and drawing us an extra card, is pretty good, as we generally have not a lot of problems getting to 10 permanents in play. The mana base begins with 4 of each Cycling Duel, then moves on to Hinterland Harbor, Glacial Fortress, and Sun Petal Grove, 1 Botanical Sanctum, and 4 copies each of Forest and Island. Moving on to the sideboard, we have 4 Manglehorn to combat artifact-heavy decks, such as Aetherflux Reservoir Strategies, that also had a breakout weekend at the Pro Tour, Cleansing Nova for creature-heavy decks or to deal with bothersome enchantments. Baral, Chief of Compliance, comes in a variety of matchups, as it's great versus control, but also blocks pretty well versus low-to-the-ground aggro decks. The rest of the sideboard is for control. Negate, Jace's Defeat, and Nezahal Primal Tide help to give us a leg up when we're siding out all or most of our fog effects. And that, my friends, is the deck list. Now, let's take a walk through the Aeons. Okay. This hand's alright. I would love to not have both of these Nexuses of Fate, but we've got card draw and a fog, so I think we're going to keep it. Being on the draw is somewhat helpful since we get an extra card just depending on what the opponent's doing. Well, they're not hyper aggro, so that does help. Let's lead off with this Scattered Groves. That way our check duels here will come into play untapped. So fogs are not going to be as important in this matchup. Let's see, do we want to hold that to potentially cycle? I think at present it's just more important to make our land drop, so let's do that. Next turn we can cast Secrets if we want to draw 2 cards. And as long as the opponent doesn't really have any pressure on, that's probably what we're going to do. Right, Teferi's awesome. That's something we definitely wanted to see. Let's go with Secrets. Go ahead and cast that. And they're going to counter that. That is perfectly fine with me. If they're countering our card draw, then they have less counter spells for our super impactful things. And if we had had to discard there, if that had resolved, we probably would have discarded one of these Nexuses of Fate because they just shuffle back into the deck when they go to the graveyard from anywhere. Alright, still nothing from the opponent. And I'm still going to keep on making our land drops since we're up against a control deck. We want to try to out-mana them if we can. It's awesome that Nexus of Fate is an instant too, because we can start casting them on their instep, making them react. Well, there's a Teferi of their own. That's kind of okay, because if they don't have a counter for our Teferi will be better because it can tuck their Teferi. Sure.
We need to move quickly.
Go ahead and hit end turn. Hopefully they don't have a negate or a syncopate here, because I do think we have to go for Teferi. Drawing the second one's probably pretty good. No counter, please. They had a censor. Damn it. Oh well. The control matchups are certainly not as good for us as the aggro and mid-range matchups, but we can pull this out. Gideon 2. Don't care too much about Gideon.
This is a save yourself and give up now.
We can, once we start taking infinite turns, if we get to that point, we can eventually just deal with him. Alrighty, so they almost certainly have another counterspell. I think what we're going to do this turn is go for Gift of Paradise. We're going to tap the lands ourselves here because we always want to put Gift of Paradise on a basic, if possible, to prevent Field of Ruin from taking that mana away from us. Are they going to counter our Gift of Paradise? They are not. Okay. And then we will pass the turn. Committing our Gift of Paradise, sure. Guess that was the only target for the commit, so they decided to use it. Of course, it does make us draw the Gift of Paradise again, which does have some value, I suppose. Going to start getting attacked with Gideon.
Get through me first.
It's going to take 6 turns to kill us unaided, so that gives us a lot of time. I'm just going to hit end turn here. We're not in the market to start fogging yet. Yep, you got an opt. And they wanted whatever was on top, unfortunately. That seems bad for us. Well, never mind. It was probably a land. Which, as I said, we do want to out-mana them if possible, so them not making land drops is beneficial to us if we can pull that off. Do we just jam Teferi? I don't think so. I think we're going to try to Nexus of Fate at the end of their turn, see if we can draw out a counterspell for that. Then we may try to resolve Teferi. Because we definitely need to get rid of their Teferi before it ultimates. They did have a counterspell. Digging with the Supreme Will, though. If they've got 2 counters that they can cast, we have probably lost this game.
No time for a break.
Yep.
You'll have to get through me first.
Going to 15 here. Gideon's not what's going to beat us, though. If anything is, it's going to be Teferi. Alright. Well, I am going to try to Nexus of Fate here. Alright, there's a Syncopate. Makes me think they do have another counterspell. And we have to try to go for Teferi. We could also go for Nexus of Fate, but resolving either one of these is good for us, and Teferi deals with their Teferi. And they do have another Syncopate, so I am going to concede. That is game. They will ultimate Teferi, start exiling our stuff, and then it's over at that point. Alright. In this matchup, we want our counter spells. Get in there. We probably also want Nazahal, and maybe Baral. Let's see what we can take out for those. We want to take out our Fogs. There are control decks and, more sort of mid-rangey control decks that we want to leave some amount of Fogs in. And when we do, we want them to be Haze of Pollen so that we can cycle them. This blue-white deck is not one of the decks I want to leave the Fogs in against. And then the last card that we will take out, I think, is one Chart a Course. Yeah, this seems okay. We can't keep this hand. This just has nothing going on. Unfortunately. Oh, jeez. And if one of these was a land, this would be a good hand. You know what? If we find a land in the top 2 cards, it's going to be a good hand, so I'm going to take a big risk and keep it. Bottom you. Hope for an untapped land next turn. Actually, any land would be fine, but untapped for sure so that we can resolve Search for Escanta in blue. And we didn't get there. Great. Well, there's a land a turn late. Maybe we have the time to make this work. Jace's defeat. Yeah, we just have to jam. We're behind here. So we're going to try for the search. Yep, getting Spell Pierce. Why are you running Spell Pierce against me? Why are you running Spell Pierce in a control deck? I guess is the more relevant question. Spell Pierce is much better in an aggro deck that's just trying to out-tempo the opponent. Alright, Scattered Groves. Well, our land is not cooperating this game. Of course, I did choose to keep a 1-land hand, but this hand was so good if we just hit our land drops. Sometimes you got to take those risks. And we're going to try to Gift of Paradise on a Scattered Grove. Alright, getting countered. They are running a lot of Syncopates too. I think we saw 3 last game. Reliquary Tower 2. Alrighty then. Try it forward again. Looks like we're getting countered again. Yep, another Syncopate. milled a disallow. So they probably have more counterspells in hand. The Mirari Conjecture, we can't cast that. At this point, I think we are in the market. Oh, maybe not. I'd rather counter a Jace. Or not a Jace, but a Teferi with Jace's defeat. You typically don't want to counter card draw spells in control matchups. Just save your counter spells for things that actually do stuff to the board or can win the game. They milled a Nezahal. Really? Makes me wonder what they've got in their hand if they're willing to mill a Nezahal. We're getting severely outmanned here. We're not going to go for Karn. They have a Nexus of Fate. We're going to say no to that. It does shuffle back into their deck, just like it does, ours does into ours. Lots of ours in that sentence. Alrighty. Let's not hit in turn in case they're about to cast another Nexus. Looks like they're just activating Azcanta. And I think we've also probably just lost this game. They have just way outmanned us at this point. Yep, you got it. Cycling sensors, sure. So I'm guessing their win condition is like ours, which is Teferi, since they're running the Nexus of Fates and stuff, and we've seen a bajillion different counter spells here. No, if we can. Come on, let me grab it. Alright, getting negated. If we had a second blue there, we could have negated back. Unfortunately, we didn't.
If you show remorse, you know what? I'm not done yet.
Alrighty. Feel like we're in super bad shape here. So we could go for Karn, we could go for the Mirari Conjecture. I think we need to go for Karn. The question is, do we make a construct so that we can start attacking Teferi? That is, if it resolves. Which, you know, is not going to happen. Because they're running... it appears basically every counter spell that they could stick into the deck. Spell Pierce there. Which, again, is not really a card you should be running in control decks. Yep, and us being able to run them out of cards in hand is a losing prospect with Teferi on the board. If we don't get something going here fairly soon, we're just going to scoop it up.
This will be all too easy. My odds are ever
Yep,
improving.
Dovinbon joining the fray too. Well, we're hitting our land drops now, though it's a little late. So we can go for Mirari Conjecture. I think that's a bad idea. I think we're going to try to Glimmer. So let's pass the turn. Yep. Digging with Azcanta again. Between all these Planeswalkers and Azcanta, I don't really see us getting back into this game. Got another Spell Pierce. At least we know about it this time.
Let's skip to the good part.
2 more turns to Ultimate Teferi.
This should help.
Drawing a bajillion cards a turn here. Now getting 2 activations off Azcanta thanks to Teferi's Untap. There's a Nexus of Fate. Alright, we are going to respond with a Glimmer. Countering. So even if they untap, they don't have the mana to cast their Nexus. So we will go for a negate on their Supreme Will. And now they can Spell Pierce us, but gets it out of their hand, I suppose. Yep. Irrigated farmland. All right. Well, let's try for the Mirari Conjecture, since it's about all that we can do this turn. Nope, disallow. We have got exactly one turn to deal with this Teferi, which basically means either going off and taking infinite turns or drawing our own Teferi and having it stick. Both of which seem super unlikely at this point. Yep. Oh yeah, that's game over. They've got Nexus of Fate. Let's just say good game. And hopefully we'll do a bit better in the next match. Yeah, one land hand. We are not keeping this one. That's better. We will certainly keep this. Karn on top. Yeah, we probably want Karn. We should be able to cast him. Turn 4. Going irrigated farmland into these two. We'll have Gift of Paradise, and then that will give us 4 mana for Karn. Right, more blue here. Leading off with an Opt. Alrighty, well, irrigated farmland first. Then next turn we can try for a search. Going to curve out fairly well here. Blue-black, okay. Let's hope opponent is not running a bunch of counter spells. No, they are opting, so we don't have to worry about a counter spell. As such, let's go ahead and play out Sanctum and search for Azcanta. And search for Azcanta is incredibly awesome in our deck, so hopefully we can just ride that to victory. No, I want to keep making my land drops, and that is a much better target for Gift of Paradise than Sun Petal Grove, so we'll be doing that. Alright, opponent's got a lot of blue mana. Again, we want to make our land drops, so let's draw that. The question is, do we want to start jamming Planeswalkers here? And I don't think we do. Very likely opponent was holding up counterspells there with the mana they've got. Right, only one black, so maybe that's preventing them from casting something. Also, the single black makes it less likely that they have a Vraska's Contempt that can kill one of our Planeswalkers if we get one to resolve. Casting Sift, okay, that's good. That's an opening for us. So maybe they're a reanimation deck of some sort, since they're playing Sift. They seem to be having a hard time choosing what to discard, though. What did they discard? Yeah, graveyard that, please. They discarded a cast down. That's a good choice versus us. Well, let's lead off with Teferi here. And we will be drawing some cards. Or a card. Glacial Fortress. I think we're in the mode of cycling these lands now. So let's play out Fortress. We'll untap you and you. And we'll end the turn. So no matter what, we're going to have enough land next turn to start trying to Nexus of Fate. Which, if they tap low enough that they can't counterspell us, we may just go ahead and do that. Apologize for the bit of rattle that's in my voice a bit. Recording early in the morning and just having trouble getting my vocal cords limbered up. My allergies are horrible. Yeah, you can have that. Makes it less likely that you can counterspell us, especially if you don't make a land drop here. You do have 2 up, though, so you could negate, or never mind, you've got an Omen Speaker. Alrighty then. Well, go ahead and scry yourself. And next turn we're going to try to start going off, which is unlikely at this point, but actually possible. Let's go ahead and cycle, just so that we don't have to keep answering the priority things, and we'll cycle again. Alright, Gift of Paradise, that's not bad. A Glimmer of Genius. How many cards in our graveyard? No, I think we want the Glimmer. And we want to cast our Nexus before we Teferi so that we have that small percentage chance extra of redrawing it.
Hurry!
Alright, we didn't, but that's fine. Let's untap you and you. Another Teferi. We're going to graveyard that. Oh, drew a Nexus of Fate. Again, we want to do that before we Teferi. Let's tick up.
Let's skip to the good part.
Alright, hit our land drop. That's good. Untap, untap, and we can Glimmer before we go to our next turn. And we don't want either of those. Teferi, that's fine. When we ultimate, it'd be nice to play another one. Graveyard you. And immediately start exiling things. Let's go with that. And plus Teferi.
No time for a break.
Right, Haze of Pollen, that's not bad. Lets us protect our Teferi. Let's go for Karn. And plus him as well.
I'll make use of that later.
And they will not be giving us the Nexus of Fate, but we can get it next turn if our Karn survives. They gave us the Nexus of Fate. Okay. I don't think they understand we're going to be able to cast it this turn. It is an instant. So, thank you, opponent. Graveyard that, because we want to flip our search. Chart a course. We'll start by ticking up Karn here.
The choices we make reveal who we are.
Either one of those is fine with me. Sure, we want to make our land drops. Let's tick... Well, actually, let's ultimate Teferi.
With each turn of the clock,
Get our emblem, play our other Teferi. We'll tick this one up.
Sorry I'm late. You know what? I'm not done yet.
Another Teferi. We're going to exile this swamp. And I think we're going to pass the turn now. Untap these. And this should just be game over at this point. The Teferi emblem should have it. They're just attacking me. That's fine. They can hit me. I do not care. Alright, discarded there. Did I hit end turn? I must have, because I wanted to Glimmer there. Well, that was a mistake. Get rid of this Memorial to Genius. Alright, main step. Let's start by ticking up Teferi.
Hold that
We don't
thought.
care about this Omen Speaker. We're just going to be exiling their lands. Alright, let's tick up Karn.
Are you certain of your decision?
Again, don't really care what we get here. Root Snare, sure. So let's cast Chart a Course. Got another Chart a Course, a Karn's Temporal Sundering. Oh yeah, we have to discard a card. Discard Root Snare. Exile lands. And we're going to go for Karn's Temporal Sundering. We'll say us and bounce their Omen Speaker. And we will cycle this to get rid of that last land. Play our land for turn. No reason to chart a course. Untap you and you, then we can activate you. And we'll grab a Nexus of Fate. And we'll discard one of our fogs. And now we'll start making constructs. And that is how we're going to win this game if they do not concede. Let's cast Nexus of Fate. We'll tick up.
Keep up the pace.
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get another Gift of Paradise into play here. We'll put it on this island. And go to combat. And in the turn, untap you and you. Go ahead and activate Ascanta. Grab another Nexus of Fate. And we are in infinite turn mode now. Go ahead and tick you down to grow our first construct.
Say hello to my little
We'll cast Nexus of Fate. And we'll cast our other Nexus of Fate. And we'll tick up to draw.
Hold that thought.
Right, I'll attack. Untap those, then we can dig with Ascanta again. And this is basically just how the deck works. We'll take the Haze of Pollen, sure, we can cycle it if all else fails. We've got an extra turn banked here. Let's tick you down.
Awaken.
We will go ahead and draw. We could get a second emblem if we want.
You know what?
No real
I'm not
need
done
to
yet.
do that. Alright, let's cycle you. There's another Nexus. Let's cast that. And opponent has seen the writing on the wall. Alright, so I think we're going to sideboard the same way as before. We'll bring in our blue spells. And take out our fog. If they are running or bring in Glint Sleeve Siphoners, we would have wanted a couple of those fogs in the deck. But for now, I think that this is the appropriate way to go with the knowledge that we have. I actually think this hand is keepable with what we saw from the opponent last game, so we're going to keep it. Hello, my friend. Lead off with the farmland. I think we're going to hold the Scattered Grove for a bit in case we do want to cycle it, depending on what we draw here. Right, we keep drawing lands, so that lends more credence to our wanting to cycle Scattered Grove. We are going to hit 5 lands no matter what, so we may just cycle this turn. Alright, looks like they're not playing anything. Let's go ahead and cycle then. Don't need the 2 white mana sources since we didn't bring in our Cleansing Novas. Got another Groves. Let's go for that. And since we cycled the first one, we probably want to cycle the second one too. Alright, Sift from the opponent. Still wondering if there's some kind of reanimation strategy with Sift in the deck. Maybe it's just that they don't have better draw spells like Glimmer yet. Alright, finally chose what to discard there. Let's go ahead and cycle this, not scatter this. Scattered Groves is what the card is. What'd you discard? Hornswoggle. That's not going to be any good versus us. We do not have creatures in the deck. We're going to pass. We may Glimmer at the end of turn. Which if we Glimmer, it's very likely that we'll need to discard. If they tap out here and don't have any mana up to counter, we'll probably just go to our turn and cast a fairy. They're having more luck drawing their black mana this time. Joshu Vess. Okay. Not super worried about him. Alright, go to our turn here. We're not going to be casting Glimmer. We've got 3 Teferi, so even if they manage to kill Teferi, we're fine. We'll just cast another one. And I don't really want to tuck Joshu Vess in case they're able to hold him and then kick him later. So let's go for Teferi. Alright, opponent's timer just running down here. They are definitely there because I see them mousing over their cards by the graphics. They're just letting the timer run out.
This isn't a fight you can win.
Which is quite annoying, to be
No time
honest.
for a break.
Alright, let's untap some lands. And now we may be sorry that we cycled these scattered groves since we have not drawn a 6th land, even with the help of Teferi. May have to chain off some draw spells next turn to try to get to our 6th land drop. Air Elemental, okay, so it looks like opponent just doesn't have a lot of cards yet, which is why they're running cards like Sift, since they have Air Elemental in their deck as well. So if we'd known about this before boarding, we probably would have left in some number of fog effects. They are attacking us. That's very good for us, since we don't have to worry about Teferi dying. Right, Jace's defeat. Let's draw a card with Teferi.
We need to move quickly.
Negate. Not quite what we're looking for here. Let's cast Secrets. And again, we did not hit a land drop. Let's cast Chart a Course. There's a land drop. Let's discard one of these Teferis at this point. We're going to have to discard other things at the end of our turn. Untap these. And I think we will discard Glimmer and Chart a Course now. So they have enough damage on board to outright kill Teferi if they want to. Right, Evolving Wilds from the opponents. They can get a 3rd blue source if they need to. Tetsamok. Okay. They are just going for our face. I'm not at all sure that that's going to actually work out for them. Let's see here. I think we want to Temporal Sundering. So let's do that. We'll take an extra turn. Let's go ahead and bounce Tetsamok, since it makes them invest the most amount of mana to recast. Right, go ahead and draw a card. Hopefully it's a land.
Let's skip to the good part.
It is not a land, unfortunately. Go ahead and untap, because we have to. And we have to discard a card. Let's discard Search for Ascanta at this point, as much as I hate to do that. Hinterland Harbor. There we go. Now we can start doing our thing. Again, always want to cast the Nexus first, so that we have a greater chance of redrawing with Teferi.
Hurry!
Alright, untap these. Take our next turn. 3. 5. So now we want to play out Gift of Paradise. Green. Play Gift here. With Teferi's untap, we'll be able to chain off this Nexus of Fate in our instep. And I think we're going to tick up now. We could Emblem Teferi, but I'm still in the market to draw extra cards. And then we will go to our instep. Untap a couple of lands, cast Nexus of Fate. Alright, another land. That's good. Let's go ahead and Emblem Teferi.
You are removed from time itself.
And then we're going to cast our second Teferi. And we will keep that one, tick him up.
Hurry!
And with the trigger, we'll get rid of Joshu Vess. Then we will chart a course. Get rid of Air Elemental. Oh, we have to discard first. Never mind. Get rid of Gift of Paradise. Get rid of Air Elemental and Submerged Boneyard. And go to our end step. Untap a couple of lands. And again, with the emblem, this should just be game over here. Opponent has no pressure on board. Hostage taker, sure. Alrighty. Putting a prey counter on their hostage taker. That's funny, if nothing else. Alright, go ahead and remove it. And let's tick up.
Let's skip to the good part.
Right, there's a Nezahal. That will let us end the game very quickly. I don't think we want to cast it yet. Let's go ahead and start chaining off these Gift of Paradises. Get our mana, get our big mana online. Go ahead and make 2 green. Gift of Paradise here. We'll cast Karn. We're going to tick Karn up.
Will fight with our well chosen.
And they give us Brawl. And we will cast Brawl. Untap 2 of our enchanted lands here. Kinda surprised they aren't sacking this Evolving Wilds to try and play Tetsamok again. Which, with the amount of time our turns are taking, maybe they're just walking away from their computer on our turns. Alright, untap these. We'll negate that. Trigger Baral, which also triggers Teferi, because we are definitely going to choose to loot here. We'll discard the island, exile their last island. Alright, second Evolving Wilds. Alright, sacking them now, or at least one of them. Alright, sure. Right, not sacking the other Evolving Wilds. Interesting. I hate to tell you this, friend, but you're never going to get up to the 6 mana needed to recast Tetsamok now with Teferi's emblem online. And opponent realizes. Okay, I think we're going to keep this blind. It seems fine. One of these Glimmer of Geniuses or the Nexus of Fate was a search for Azcanta, it would be pretty much perfect. Alright, opponent mulliganed. Well, we'll lead off with our island. And forest. Looks like we are up against potentially a control deck again. Would like to face some aggro, if at all possible. Arena. Well, there's an Azcanta for them, so that's bad for us. Teferi, we need to draw some more lands, please, deck. Please do not let me keep a 3-land hand and then stall out forever. Alright, milled a Fumigate. Opponent may know what we're on with this land configuration. Chart a course, you got it. That makes me think they are on a build of God Pharaoh's Gift. Yep, Minister of Inquiries, they are definitely God Pharaoh's Gift. Well, these fogs will actually be somewhat useful in this matchup then. Well, we did draw a land. Unfortunately, it comes into play tapped. So no Glimmer of Genius for us this turn. I am not at all sure how this matchup goes. I have yet to play against any God Pharaoh's deck builds with this list. So we will be learning together. Alright, milled a Glacial Fortress there. 3 cards away from flipping their search. Looks like we're maybe getting attacked. We are. Okay, we'll take the 1. Don't generally want to start fogging until we're getting close to being lethaled. Alright, put an Angel in there. They can flip their search next turn. There's a Chart a Course for us. I think we're going to go with that, trying to hit a land drop here. And we did. So at this point, I think we're going to discard Nexus of Fate, let it shuffle back in. Make our land drop and pass the turn. Hello. Yep, flip their search there. See, they don't have a gift in here yet, right? Nope, they do not. So we don't need to be worrying about a refurbish yet. There's a Champion of Wits. They could hit one here. They did not. That's good for us. Looks like we're just getting attacked again. And since we're getting attacked, I also think they don't have a refurbish in hand. Right, Glacial Fortress. We're a lot less likely to get counterspelled game 1 than post board, so let's go ahead and try to fire off Teferi here. Looks like Teferi resolves. We will be drawing a card.
No time for a break.
Second Teferi. That's good as a backup if our first Teferi bites the dust. And we're 1 land off of casting Nexus of Fate. Angel of Invention, sure. And I'm probably going to fog this turn if they go for lethal on Teferi. And they are, so let's prevent that. Right, Karn, let's start by ticking up. We need an untapped land.
I'm not done yet.
That is not what that is, but will it get the job done? 3, so that'll be 4, 5, 6. We'll be 1 short of casting Nexus on our end step. I do think we want to get the Gift of Paradise online, though. So let's do this. Cast Gift of Paradise here. And we should probably resign ourselves to the fact that Teferi's going to die this turn. We don't have... Well, I guess we could get lucky and draw a fog effect off of our Glimmer of Genius that we're going to cast. I do expect them to try to kill Teferi again. Okay. Attacking with 1 extra. Let's see. What are you going to tap? All right, that will leave us green up. So let's go for Glimmer. Try to dig for a fog. That is not a fog. Second Nexus may be okay. No, we're digging for a fog. Bottom both of those. Ooh, we got it. Please don't kill Teferi. And now I think we're in pretty good shape. Oh no, they have an Angel of Sanctions. Well, Teferi's going bye-bye then. Unfortunately. Alright, there is a Haze of Pollen. Makes me want to go for Teferi again. We generally don't want to try to start chaining these off until we have a Teferi in play to draw extra. So make sure we're leaving up green, which we're going to untap with Teferi anyway.
I'm known for
Go
my
ahead and
excellent
draw.
need to move quickly.
Land drop's awesome. Let's end the turn. We'll untap those. And interesting to note here that if we'd had a second Gift of Paradise in play, we could have actually cast Nexus of Fate on our instep there with Teferi's untap. All right, they're going to combat. I'm going to preemptively cast Haze of Pollen, just so that we don't make them waste a bunch of time attacking Teferi and so on. Alright, that did save us some time. Looks like they're maybe going to eternalize their Champion of Wits. Yep, that is what's going on. They still have not hit a God Pharaoh's Gift. There's one. Yep. So if they have a refurbish, they can go for that next turn if they ever get another turn, which they may not. Us having 2 Time Walk effects already in our hand. Milling us. Sure. Go to end of turn. Let's Glimmer. The interesting thing about milling is that we're going to keep one of these so that we can make our land drop. Is that no matter how Nexus of Fate goes into the graveyard, it shuffles back into our deck. If it gets countered, if they mill it, it doesn't matter. It just goes back in. Let's go ahead and cast Nexus of Fate. Draw.
Keep up the pace.
Secrets. Wish we could cast that. Let's go to our instep. Untap some lands. We're going to hold that. We could cycle it, digging if we wanted to. Let's draw first. Would like to hold the Karn's Temporal Sundering if we could. Looks like we're not going to be able to. Tap for green. Tap for blue. Cast a gift here. Because I was wanting to ultimate this and then Temporal Sunder that back so I could immediately activate the emblem. Doesn't look like that's going to be possible. So I think we're going to Sunder the token. Because this Teferi is very close to ultimating. We want the extra turn. Let's bounce that. Go to combat. Go to end of turn. Let's untap these. Alright, we have 10 permanents, I think, so we could draw 3 with this. Let's start with Teferi.
Keep up the pace.
There's a Nexus. Awesome. So let's draw some cards. And do we want to cycle? I think we want to play Karn. And we'll still be able to Nexus. So let's do that. We'll tick him up.
Must not be tolerated. You may regret that choice.
Yep, they are not going to give us the Nexus. Yep. Let's go to our instep here. Untap these. We'll Nexus. At instant speed, Nexus being an instant is just ridiculous. Go ahead and cycle this too. Alright, let's play our Harbor. Let's ult Teferi.
Farewell.
We'll play out another Teferi. Go ahead and plus
Right
it.
on schedule. You know what? I'm not done yet.
Another Nexus of Fate. That is awesome. Let's exile this. We will keep the new one. Plus it again.
Let's skip to the good part.
Exile Azcanta. Let's plus... Actually, we've got a Nexus in exile, don't we? Let's minus Karn.
What was lost is now returned.
Grab the Nexus. Can go ahead and cast that. Yep. And opponent has had enough. Alright, God Pharaoh's Gift. Huh. Not certain we want a bunch of counterspells in this matchup. The fogs seem really good. Maybe we want a couple of our cleansing novas just in case. Manglehorn is maybe okay too. Yeah, I'm really not sure how to sideboard here. I think we're going to take out the secrets for the cleansing nova. I do think I would like some number of Manglehorns in, but maybe we don't need them. I think these are primarily for the Aetherflux Reservoir decks. We're just going to try this. When in doubt, I like to go with less instead of more, so we'll see how this goes. Alright, this hand's great. Let's keep it. Looks like we got a first turn Minister. That's good for the opponent. Well, as always, lead off with our cycling land. And they go beat down. Chart a course, sure. Gift of Paradise. Would like to draw a basic for a Gift of Paradise. I think we're going to chart a course too. Azcanta. I think we'll discard Root Snare. Champion of Wits. Opponent seems to be firing on all cylinders this game. There's an angel and a gift into the graveyard, so they could refurbish that gift next turn. So they could attack for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got a lot of fog effects at the moment. We could go for search. I think it's more important to develop our mana since we don't seem to be able to draw a fourth mana at this point. See if we get refurbished here. There's the white mana. There is the refurbish. Okay. So here comes Angel. Alright, so we're not getting attacked for quite as much because they chose to make servos. There's a land. That's what we wanted to see. So let's get Search for Azcanta out, which allows us to hold up Haze of Pollen, and we'll pass the turn. We've only got 2 cards in our graveyard at this point. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is a lethal attack, and we have to fog it. No more targets for the gift. Let's go ahead and haze. Be careful not to cycle there. And we're dead. They got the counterspell. Alright, well. Good game, opponent. So maybe we do want some number of counterspells. I am not sure. Alright, I think we're going to cut the Mirari Conjecture. And cut 3 Charta courses for 4 negates. Could also bring in Jace's Defeat, but Refurbish is the thing we most want to counter. Baral may be worth it. He can block and reduces the cost of our stuff. Yeah, I'm going to try that as well. We'll take out 2 Root Snares and bring in the Barals. Alright, again, this is a good hand. Our land's a bit awkward, but I think we definitely want to keep it. Lead off with the Harbor. I don't think it really matters which of these 2 lands we play first. Oh, that's nice. So, we should have played the Glacial Fortress first in hindsight. But at least we get to resolve a search, so that's good. Turn 2 search is awesome. I think we're going to graveyard that, since we can't cast it this turn. Go with that and pass. Chart a course, sure. Discarded a gift, so we need to be aware of the potential for refurbish next turn. We need to hold up negate. Irrigated farmland. I think we want that. That will allow our blue-white duels to come into play untapped from now on. Now, hopefully they'll go for the refurbish this turn and let us negate it. They do. Alright, Nexus of Fate. Don't think we want that yet. Shuffle it back in. Right, get to hit our land drops here. Also have Glimmer mana now. We're at 2 cards in the graveyard, unfortunately, so a long way from flipping Search for Azcanta. Angel of Invention, sure. Probably going for the servos again, and they are. Let's go ahead and Glimmer. Yeah, I think I want those now. We're 1 mana with what's in our hand off of starting to cast Nexus of Fate. Yeah, we want that too. So we've got a Fog up plus Glimmer. Seems good to me. Not that I think we're actually going to cast a Fog this turn unless something goes horribly wrong. Alright, they're cycling a farmland. Here comes the team. We're just going to take this. And go ahead and Glimmer, or attempt to. Alright, let's hit resolve. We want both of those. Four cards in the graveyard now. We will mill the second search. Gift of Paradise is fine. Let's go ahead and go for Teferi. We do have negate to protect it.
I can
Let's
no
go ahead
longer
and
stand
draw.
by and watch. Hurry!
Alright, another Nexus. That's awesome. We'll go to our end step. Untap a couple of lands. And pass. Alright, go into attacks here. Maybe should have cast one of these fogs preemptively. See, yeah, that's fine for tapping. Going for the negate. Well, we'll actually let that resolve. And then we'll Haze of Pollen. I would rather keep the negate in our hand at this point. I think anyway. Maybe that's a mistake. Maybe the second fog effect was more valuable and we should have negated the negate. Graveyard and transform. Cleansing Nova. That seems alright. Wait just a second. Let's not forget. We'll cast Nexus of Fate first. Then we'll draw.
We need to move quickly.
Alright, Brawl's good too. Untap. Alright, so we tap 3 for gift here, and then that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can gift plus Nexus here. So let's do that. Blue, green will gift onto the forest. And I think we can actually do Brawl too. Cast 2, we've got 4, yeah, and Nexus will only cost 6. Let's draw.
No time for a break.
Alrighty, have we played a land this turn? We have not. But I think we'd rather cycle at this point, so let's go to our end step. Let's untap those. Cast Nexus. Another Teferi. Let's draw.
Keep up the pace.
There's another Nexus. That's awesome. So let's dig. We'll grab a Sundering. We can actually cast that here. I think we're going to do that. We'll take the turn. We'll bounce a Servo. Go to our end step. Actually, we can attack with Brawl. Yeah, let's do that. Or never mind, because they have had enough. Yeah, again, can't keep a one-land hand, unfortunately. That's a bit better. Let's keep that. 4th mana, probably want that. We will lead off with a Glacial Fortress. We can Botanical Sanctum into Search next turn. Blue-white again. Alright, let's resolve our search for Ascanta. Ooh, Ether Hub, so maybe Esper. Search of their own. We want that. So let's draw it. Play out. Well, yeah, let's dig with Chart a Course first. Alrighty, well, let's discard the Sun Petal Grove, and we'll play out Glacial Fortress. Right, no mill from the opponent. They are hitting their land drops. 2 cards, Haze of Pollen. That will go to the graveyard. There's another Teferi. Well, let's try for a Gift of Paradise on a Glacial Fortress. Alright, that resolves. Play out our Hinterland Harbor. All our lands except for Botanical Sanctum coming into play tapped this game, unfortunately. Alright, Supreme Will digging here. See, we're at 3, they're at 1. They choose not to mill. Scattered Groves. I guess we want that. Let's try for some card draw. Alright, they choose to syncopate that. That is fine, I suppose. Is this the same person we played against earlier? I do not remember the person's name, if I even looked at it. I don't generally look up here. And there's a Field of Ruin, so unfortunately we could lose our Gift of Paradise here, since we didn't have a basic to put it on. So we got 3 in the graveyard. Island. I think we're going to mill that. Got an irrigated farmland. So we could start trying to jam Teferis here. They've used 2 counter spells so far. Yeah, let's try for Teferi. Alright, there's another counter spell.
That didn't pan out.
We're going to play this farmland. 5 cards in the graveyard. They have 3. They mill another Azcanta. Alright, looks like opponent's just passing the turn here. Another Teferi. Let's keep that. We'll try for Teferi again. Looks like we got it. Do they have an answer?
Trust me. You'll thank me later.
Either way, we'll draw a card here.
No time for a break.
Mirari Conjecture is okay-ish. Looks like they're using Field of Ruin, so that stunts our mana a little bit. Guess we'll get a Forest. But it does make it to where we can flip our Search for Azcanta for sure next turn. Right, another Field of Ruin. So they have an answer to a flipped Search if we choose to flip. I will mill that and decline to transform for now. There is another Gift of Paradise. Let's start by... You've got 6. Actually, let's tuck their Search for Azcanta, since they can flip it next turn. I would rather them not be able to dig like that.
Time is much more malleable than people think.
There we go. Let's cast a gift on the Forest. Right, there's our mana back at least. And we'll just pass the turn. Right, nothing from the opponent. Search for Azcanta, Glacial Fortress. Yep, mill that. No transform. Another Gift of Paradise. Well, let's draw.
Hold that thought.
Haze of Pollen. We're probably in the market to cycle that. Let's make green. And then we will Gift of Paradise onto a Hinterland Harbor. And I'm going to try to resolve the Mirari Conjecture. Alright, looks like that sticks. We'll get back our Haze of Pollen, which is fine. I'm more in the market of getting back the Charticourse and then getting the double casts on the 3rd chapter. Let's untap these. Alright, they redraw Search for Azcanta next turn. I do suspect... Okay. For the City's Blessing. That makes sense. I do suspect that they have a counterspell in hand, the way that they looked at the Mirari's Conjecture. Let's go ahead and cycle. Alright, Forest, that's fine. Opponent thinking about Field of Ruining our Hinterland Harbor, I think. Go to my turn. Yeah, mill that. Do not transform. Drew a Root Snare. Okay, we get back Charticourse now. Let's go ahead and plus Teferi.
Let's skip to the good part.
Gift of Paradise, that's a good card too. Let's add 2 green. We'll gift onto this Forest. Then we'll go ahead and cycle this. A Karn? We probably want to go for Karn. just to get any counter spells out of their hand. Karn resolves. Let's plus him.
Let us begin. A curious choice.
Alright, well, we're getting a root snare. Alright, let's untap 2 of these Gift of Paradise lands. There we go. And yeah, they get to activate Arch of Erazka. So there's the search. We're not going to be able to prevent them from resolving that. Don't have any counter spells main deck. Perhaps, though, we have gotten far enough ahead now that it's not going to matter. We do need to start drawing some Time Walk effects, though. There's a Teferi of their own. I wonder, are you going to draw or tuck something?
If you show remorse, I'll show restraint.
Tuck our Teferi? Okay.
You need to slow down.
Graveyard. Decline. There's another search. So we are in the market to flip our search for Azcanta now. Let's start with a chart, of course, which is going to be copied. There's a Nexus. Let's discard a Root Snare. Another chart, of course. Let's discard the other Root Snare. We have our land for turn. Let's tick up Karn.
How convenient. An excellent choice.
Your choice, opponent. Gives us another Karn. Let's try to play the Teferi that they know about. That resolves. We will tuck their Teferi.
Let's take it back.
And I guess we'll chart a course. Discard the Haze. And discard another Haze. Right, that was not a bad turn. And opponent concedes. Alright, we saw absolutely no creatures there. So I think we're just going to do what we have been doing. We'll bring in all our blue spells. There is an argument for perhaps bringing in Cleansing Nova if they are running some number of castouts, but I don't think it's necessary. And we want to take out all of our fog effects and 1 Secrets of the Golden City. And that should do it. Alright, this is a good hand. We will keep it. Again, would very much like a basic to put our gift on, especially since we know for sure they are playing Fields of Ruin. But you can't dictate what the game gives you, so we'll see what happens. If we have to put it on a duel, we'll put it on a duel. There's a basic. Well, we'll go with Botanical Sanctum. Alright, nothing so far from the opponent, which is to be expected from a control deck. Let's put this on our forest. Alright, opponent lets that resolve. We could just try to jam Teferi here. I think we're better off holding up our counter spells and planning to Glimmer of Genius on their instep. There's 5 mana for them. Let's try to Glimmer here. Alright, opponent syncopates for 2. I am perfectly happy with that, in all honesty. Let's try to resolve Baral. Awesome. Now we can cast both negates or 1 Glimmer of Genius. Alright, nothing from the opponent. Let's try for our Glimmer. If we draw an untapped land, we can go for Teferi and still have a negate up. Alright, choose to negate that. I am perfectly happy to have our card draw spells countered. Alright, there is the 1 mana. Let's see, no, I want you to leave blue up, please. For negate, thank you very much. Teferi resolves, awesome.
I know my response. You know what? I'm not done yet.
Nexus of Fate, even more awesome. Let's start attacking. Untap a couple lands. And I feel like we're in decent shape here. Alright, nothing from the opponent there. Let's draw a card.
We need to move quickly.
Island. Right, let's make our land drop. We'll go to combat. Get in there for one. Let's try to resolve Karn, shall we? Torrential Gearhulk. Well, we can't stop that with a negate. But we can stop the negate with our negate. Gives us a loot, which we will certainly take. Nezahal. I like Nezahal. Let's discard Scattered Groves. And with Karn, we're going to make a blocker.
The course of history. Allow me to introduce you to a friend of mine.
Let's untap. No, attacking Karn. That's why I made the blocker. Teferi, I'm going to try to say no.
Stop that. Now.
Yes, please. Well, we will discard that Scattered Grove. Another Teferi. Feels like they don't have a counterspell. Let's tick up.
Good choice.
Alright, see what they give us. Probably the land. Yep, I'm fine with that. Let's tick up with Teferi.
Hurry!
Gift of Paradise. Alright, I think we're going to cast Nezahal. And go attacking. Untap our lands. And it may be a bit premature, but I feel like we've got this game. Fumigate. We get to draw a card. I actually think I may be fine with letting this resolve. No, let's slide out Nezahal. We'll discard the cards that aren't Nexus of Fate. Ixalan's Binding for Teferi. Alright, Teferi is gone. They are empty-handed. We have a 7/7 and 2 Nexus of Fates. That seems pretty good.
A curious choice.
Yeah, which land do we get? That seems fine. Swing for 7. And this should just be lethal here, right? It's 21 damage.
Choice.
Of course, opponent doesn't know we have the other Nexus of Fate. and go for the lethal attack. Okay, yeah, we're definitely going to keep this hand. Hopefully we can face an aggro deck this round, please. Which I guess you can sort of consider God Pharaoh's Gift aggro-ish. Well, Mountain, maybe? Fingers crossed. Second Mountain. They're not playing anything, though. Alright, well, let's get a Forest out, I suppose. Alright, Shock, so it is aggro. Just off to a not very good start here. Yep. Hello, Pyromancer. You got it, we'll just end the turn here. Secrets of the Golden City. Unfortunately, we do not have the second blue to play that, but maybe we can find it with our Glimmer here. We are not in the market to be fogging yet. Wizard's Lightning. Okay, so is this mono red Wizards then? Right, 4 lands. That's generally bad for the Wizard deck. If that's what this is. They do not want to have 4 lands in play this early. Another Pyromancer. Alright, we may have to start fogging next turn, so they don't get us low enough to easily burn us out. Let's go ahead and Glimmer. I want a land drop, but I also want this Root Snare, so let's bottom the Charticourse. Alrighty. Well, there is a land drop. Not the exact one I was hoping for. Go ahead and play that. We'll play Charticourse. Actually, I probably should have played Charticourse before I played the farmland. I think we'll discard this Nexus of Fate. And we will end the turn. We are definitely going to be root snaring now. Yeah, Wizard's Lightning. We may just lose anyway. Opponent has had a lot of burn so far this game. Courier, sure. And the Flame of Keld. That seems real bad for us. If we can stabilize, though, I think we're going to be okay. Let's not take 5 damage here. Right, another land. Let's go for Teferi. We'll draw a card.
Right on schedule. Let's skip to the good part.
Hinterland Harbor. Don't see any reason to play out the Harbor over the Scattered Groves, especially when it's going to allow us to cast Nexus of Fate next turn. There we go. Hopefully they don't draw 2 3 damage burn spells off of this Flame of Keld, because there's nothing we can do about that at this point. We haven't drawn any Gift of Paradise or anything to buffer our life total. Lava Runner, that's fine. Alright, everything at us. Let's prevent that again, please. Alright, Charticourse. So let's play our Harbor. Let's play Nexus. Go ahead and draw with Teferi.
Hold that thought.
Scattered Grove, okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter here. We don't have an instant... Well, we can cycle. Let's cycle. We need more Nexus of Fates. Mirari Conjecture. That helps. So let's draw.
We need to move quickly.
Ooh, Haze of Pollen. That's also pretty good. Let's get this Gift of Paradise down. Buffer our life total just a little bit here. Then we're going to cast the Mirari Conjecture. Go ahead and get a Root Snare back. And we'll untap some lands. And maybe we have stabilized. Flame of Keld. Giving red sources extra damage. Sure. Alright, continuing to come at us, which, you know, makes sense. Let's Root Snare all that damage. Alright. Hitting us for 4 down to 5. And a couple of burn spells could get us here with the Flame of Keld activation there. Nope, didn't have it. Trying again. Replacement effect. Prevent. I don't know what's going on here. But that is the game, I guess. Okay, so we want Cleansing Nova. And we probably want to cut Secrets of the Golden City, since that's a little bit slow. We could also bring in Manglehorn to deal with their Bowmat couriers, but again, Manglehorn in my mind is primarily for the Aetherflux Reservoir decks. So, I think we're just going... Well, we could bring in Brawl, he blocks pretty good. Yeah, I think we're going to cut Search for Azcanta because Search is generally not great versus these super aggro red decks. It just doesn't do anything in the early games. And Brawl actually blocks, so we'll do that. And here we go. We do not have blue mana here, but we do have a fog effect, and we're on the draw. I think we're going to try and keep this, see how that goes. Soulscar Mage, okay. Another fog effect. I like the fog effects. I would also like to hit more lands, especially blue lands. Karizev, okay. So maybe it's not wizards. It's just they've got Wizard Lightning because they have at least a number to make it likely to be able to cast at 1 mana. Bowmat Courier, okay. We losing our Brawl? We are. Well, that's 3 damage that isn't going to our face, so I guess that's fine. Down to 13 here. So we are probably in the market to start fogging now, so that we don't get so low we just get burned out. Yep, Pyromancer. Pyromancer's a bit of burn all on its own. Here comes the team. Yeah, I would like to not go to 6, I think, so let's Root Snare. Another Root Snare, okay. So they've got 7 for sure coming. Yeah, we can't afford to Glimmer, I don't think. What we really need is an untapped land next turn so that we can Teferi plus and still have up a fog effect. Alright, looks like they are playing around Settle the Wreckage. 4 damage coming in. I am going to take 4. I will go to 7. Alright, let's Glimmer. Come on, give us an untapped land. That's not what that is. I probably want to hedge, because any land is better than none at this point. Alright, another fog effect. So do we want the farmland or the scattered grove? I think we want the farmland. And we will end the turn. Looks like we're getting burned, or maybe Bomat's getting sacked. Nope, getting burned. Down to 4. So maybe taking that damage was wrong, but I kind of feel like we needed to have a chance this game. And they're going to get 4 cards off this Bomat courier here. Okay, we absolutely have to fog, so we're going to do that. Hopefully they don't draw 2 burn spells off this Bomat courier. They are not sacking it. Well, let's go ahead and cycle. There's a Karn. Another land. Let's go with Teferi here.
I am
Draw a
not
card.
going to sit this one out. No time for a break.
Another Teferi. That's not really what we were looking for. But we can cast Nexus of Fate next turn. With Teferi's untap ability, as long as we don't die before that. Here we go again. Right. Everything's coming. We don't have Settle the Wreckage mana. That's fine. Going to Root Snare again. Alright, going to 1, so basically any burn spell off a Bomat Courier kills us here. Are we dead? We are dead. Good game. Yep. Did not quite stabilize that game. We really need to draw our Gift of Paradises here. Go ahead and resubmit. Chart of Courses. We've got a Gift of Paradise this time. I think we have to keep this. We do still need some more lands. We've got to draw or 2 to find one. Don't really have to worry about putting it on a basic in this matchup. I very much doubt they're playing Field of Ruins. Alright, so we absolutely need a land next turn. Blue land would be the best. Just going to say in the turn, we're definitely taking this damage. Looks like a Pyromancer. Nope, Karizav. Okay. There we go. That's what we wanted. Ooh, not you. The other green card in our hand. Now we can play Chart a Course or Karn. On Crop Crasher, okay. Taking a lot of damage here. Right, another forest. Let's go with Chart a Course. I think we're going to discard Karn. Play out irrigated farmland. And pass the turn. And I think we're also going to start fogging now. I'm just going to cast this preemptively. That way maybe we can save a little time and they won't bother attacking. Alright, Soul Scar Mage. Cleansing Nova, please. Give me Cleansing Nova. Yep. Getting Wizard Lightninged. And there's Flame of Keld. Very scary card. Alright, Scattered Groves. Let's start with Chart a Course. There's the Cleansing Nova. So let's discard Scattered Groves. We'll play out a Forest. We're also going to just Chart a Course again. Gift of Paradise is really good. Let's discard Root Snare. Hopefully they will super overextend next turn. We can fog this and then Cleansing Nova maybe. Yep, drawing a bunch of cards. Right, going to attacks. I should have preemptively done this again, but there it is. Just trying to think about our next few plays here. Hopefully those are creatures in their hand and they'll cast both of them. They were not. Let's see, 3. That will only give us 4. Yeah, we got a Cleansing Nova here. Destroy all creatures, please. We could still take a ton of damage from the extra that this will give to burn spells. Luckily, they don't have the instants and sorceries for this to have haste, though they could have another burn spell in their hand. Alright, yeah, taking 5. Taking 4, going to 3. Ouch. Are we dead? We are dead. Good game, opponent. Didn't quite get there. Alrighty, 3 and 2, not bad overall. Could have wished for a little bit more diverse pool of people to play against, but I think that it was fine. We see what this deck can do. Gave us a good idea of what happens when it absolutely goes off. Here again is the deck list. There are several other versions of this deck that were played at the Pro Tour. As I said, this particular one is by David Williams. There will also be links in the description to not only David Williams' deck list, but I will link also to some of the other lists if you would like to check them out and see what's different about them. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, let me know in the comments and by leaving a like below. It really does help tremendously. And of course, subscribe if you'd like to see more in the future. I have been Tevaron, and until next time, friends, be excellent to each other.